everybody. I am Hanine Swaid, and today I'm going to be talking to you about a specific form of activism. But before I get too much into what type of activism I'm going to be talking about, I'm going to show you a quick quote. It goes, "Tomorrow the sun will rise to a world without you in it. You've been given no reason to live, yet you'll fight for another day in a world that broke your spirit, that took your freedom, and that showed you the depth of cruelty capable by humankind." So this was said by Emma Hurst, and I want you to think, what does it mean, and who is it directed towards? You might think it's directed to children living in war-torn countries or families living in extreme poverty. But really, this quote is for animals in slaughterhouses as a form of apology for all that we do to them and as a form of admiration to even though we treat them so horribly, they're still standing. So that's what I'm going to be talking to you about today, animal activism and why it's so important. Imagine you see children in cages, small, cramped cages, clearly unhappy. What would be your first instinct? Maybe you would call for help or try and save the children or even tell the person off who's put them like that. Okay, now I want you to change the scenario a little bit. I want you to replace the children with chickens. Then how would you react? Would you react the same or would you do nothing? Most people would do nothing. And I think that's wrong because animals and people, in all the ways that matter, are equal. So we may not look the same and we may not have the same level of intelligence, but it doesn't mean that we should treat animals in a horrible way just because we don't understand their emotion. We share something with animals called sentientness, which means the emotion I can feel towards someone, an animal could feel that same emotion. And the pain I could feel if I hurt myself, an animal could feel that same pain. So in all the ways that matter, we are the same. When we think of animals, the first thing we think of is usually how can they benefit us? And to prove that point is when we're in school, we learn that chickens give us eggs, cows give us milk, cats give us love, dogs give us loyalty. We're always focusing on what they can give to us, when we should be more focusing on what we can give to them, for they are the more vulnerable creatures. They don't have many people who stand up for them, who use their voice for them. They're voiceless, and you should try and be their voice. So why do we think, how can they benefit us? Well, of course, sometimes people can be unintentionally selfish, but society has also put this idea into our minds that we are the so-called head being and animals are here to serve us, which is false, but we think these to add justice to what we've done, and that's why we need animal activists, people who can say something that can change a whole community. We need people to save their habitats, them as themselves, and we need people who can stand out in society against these what we know as norms and teach the people who are willing to listen why animals need our help. Because if there were no animal activists, the majority of the population would continue with animal abuse, and the animals are already in a horrible situation. It would probably be 10 times worse. Sometimes in life, we need people to remind us how to do the right thing. We need people to remind us right from wrong, and animal activists are those people when it comes to animals. A big issue is that there's not enough, and that simply comes down to people not believing in their voice. People believe that what they say isn't going to make a difference, isn't going to make a change, that no one's gonna listen to what they have to say and that their voice is nothing. Imagine everybody thought like that. From the beginning of time till now, everybody thought that their voice couldn't make a difference. There would be nothing in this world. There would be no justice, there would be no peace, and because it's people's voices that make a difference, and there would probably still be slavery because no one would be willing to stand up against the injustice. Women wouldn't be able to vote because no one would have believed in their voice. Now imagine everyone thought the opposite. Imagine everyone thought that their voice could make a difference, their words could change a nation, they won't give up, everyone will listen. Our world would be so much better. There'd be more people like Wangari Matai, people who aren't scared to stand up against injustice and wrong. Wangari Matai is a famous Kenyan activist who noticed that the crops in her community were dying and realized that the cause of this was deforestation. She educated the people of her community and she did protests to try and stop deforestation. And through that, not only was she able to save the crops in her community, but she created an organization known as the Green Belt Movement, which has now benefited and inspired so many people, not only in Kenya, but across the world. And that's why you should believe in your voice too, because one small thing, one thing that might seem insignificant to others, can create a huge difference, and you can create that huge difference. Because your voice is so important. Ricky Gervais said that the greatest privilege that comes with freedom of speech is using your voice for those who don't have one. The animals don't have a voice. I noticed what was going on in my community, the way they were treating animals, and I got a few friends and I decided to create a small organization called Animals Are the Future that focuses on spreading awareness for animals and the environment. So as an animal activist and on behalf of all animal activists, I will scream for the voiceless until my voice is gone, and you should, because your voice may seem like nothing to you, but to the voiceless, it means everything. Thank you.